Hey, I'm that Stone Kid, the kid that brings you okay content sometimes, and today we're looking at the 2015 storytelling slash horror game, Until Dawn. I love this game and I'll explain why after a little bit of the controls and gameplay. The gameplay is very good. The gameplay is your basic heavy rain type game, where it's kind of like The Walking Dead. You walk around, you pick stuff up, couple quick time events, you go on. It's more oriented to button quick time events, not direction quick time events, even though there's decisions that involve a direction. So, the controls in it are really good. They consist of the don't moves, and I got the don't move pictured right here. And there's also the quick time events, and there's the shooting, and then there's the cursor system. They all work very well in tangent for what type of game it is. And the beginning bit, it is really good because it explains how everything works in a controlled environment, such as the shooting, the don't moves, and the quick time events. They all work very well, and is a great way to explore your options in an easy way. So, the characters. The characters are stereotypes. They're all high school characters, and they go up to this cabin that's built on indigenous land. And by the way, there's a mechanic in the game called totems, which it will give you a little forward into the future, such as a death totem or a fortune totem, which you can avoid or get. So it's a really good mechanic on how it wants you to look for them, because they're a good little collectible that will help you see in the future, and it will help you. And also, the monster, the Wendigo, is an indigenous monster. And I'm not saying Native American because this takes place in Vancouver, so like, Canadian thing, yay. So a little bit about the characters. Hannah and Beth Washington, pictured here and here. And there's also Joshua Washington here. He is kind of like a normal guy. He's nothing too crazy. He's a little weird. And then there's Mike, the hot guy. The Jess, she's kind of like the hot blonde party girl. And then there's Emily. She's kind of like the bitchy smart girl. And then there's Matt. Matt is kind of like the sporty nice guy. And then there's Chris. Chris is the funny guy. Ashley is kind of like the common girl. And then there's Dr. Hill, who's not really real in the story, but he seems like he smells like cigars and leather. And also there's Samantha. Samantha! She's like the normal girl. She's nothing really too crazy, nothing really too weird. So those are all the characters. They're kind of all just high school stereotypes. So there's nothing really fancy about them. So, the beginning of the game takes place at the Washington Lodge. And by the way, this lodge was built next to a sanatorium, which is an insane asylum, which I had to explain to my friend Sophia when we played it together, and a mine. A mine. So exciting. Imagine how the conversation at the real estate agent went. Just, Mr. Washington, you sure you want this? It's built on a sanatorium. Like, I don't know if you want that. I'm like the dad, like, Poltergeist, just take my money. Take it all. I want it. Give me the cabin. My family will love it. Oh, I think the interaction would go. I don't know anybody who would want a sanatorium next to a cabin, but it's okay. A little bit about the story now. So the beginning takes place at the Washington Lodge, like I just mentioned, and it involves Hannah and Beth Washington dying after Hannah gets a prank pulled on her when she makes out with Mike, and then she runs off. So then Beth tries to find her, and then they fall off a cliff. It's a very sad tragedy, which is played a lot through the game, and it has a really hard effect on Josh, who couldn't help because he was passed out drunk. So, like, it's a pretty sad moment. But the beginning is so good on a storytelling standpoint because it throws in so many red herrings and things that can be elaborated on that you want to know about. So, in that sense, it's really good and it's really fun. So the story is your basic maniac slash monster story from here on out. It all starts out when everyone gets to the lodge, and they all go their separate ways. Mike and Jess, pictured here once again, they go off to find the guest cabin, and then Matt and Emily go to find Emily's bag, which she forgot. And then it just has Josh, Chris, Ashley, and Samantha just kind of chilling in the chalet waiting for everyone to come back, and they get all the generators started, and there's a couple of jump scares. Like, it's pretty fun. It's all in good fun. So yeah, and then it really takes a turn for the worse when a maniac punches Ashley and Chris in the head, and he drags them out to a shed in which Chris has the choice of saving Josh or Ashley. And there's a saw that will cut the torso of one of them. And in my playthrough, I chose save Ashley while killing Josh. So, like, I thought my decision was really good, but it doesn't make a difference in the future. Let me just tell you. Josh is actually the killer. So, yeah, it just kind of goes along. And when Mike and Jess are in the guest cabin, and they're about to get down and dirty. And by the way, about the relationship, it doesn't seem like they love each other. It just kind of seems like a physical relationship with them just making sexual jabs at each other that it seems kind of weird and off-putting. But, like, you know, their brand of love is their brand of love. And when they get down to business, Jess's phone is thrown through the window. And she thinks it's just everyone, like, oh yeah, come on, stop ruining our fun. And then she slams the door, and then something pulls her through. And by the way, that's the Wendigo. And Mike runs after her in his weird tank and his pants. Nothing, not even like a coat or a jacket or nothing. So yeah, all of that happens. And then Chris and Ashley meet up with Matt and Emily. And with their relationship, it's kind of weird too. Matt is just walked on by Emily, which I kind of feel bad for Matt, but he never really stands up for himself. And Chris and Ashley tell them to radio for help at the radio tower, which they do, but then something cuts the cords, which is the Wendigo, by the way. And you're faced with the decision of jump to safety and leave Emily, or try to save Emily. I said jump to safety because, like, I don't know, I didn't really feel like Emily deserved to live, but she gets better throughout the game. It's a real character development moment for her. So, yeah, then that goes along. Everyone goes through the trials and tribulations, and Mike goes into the sanatorium and sees a bunch of Wendigos and nearly dies. And, by the way, this game, any character can die at any given moment. And when I finished the game, I finished with 3 characters. Samantha, Matt, and Emily. That's all I was left with. That's how bad I was at this game. I was really bad at it. And near the end, it's shown that Josh is the killer. And he kind of explains why he did it, because it was kind of like a prank. Which it wasn't really a prank, it was just kind of a weird thing. And, oh my god, they take him and they duct tape him to a post. And what's weird is he's kind of funny. He's kind of funny in that moment. And he has his last session with Dr. Hill. He's not really real. But yeah, he has a real funny moment for some weird reason. Like Mike mentions on how he's going to stay overnight with him. And he's just kind of tied up there just like, can we order pizza? Like, it's kind of like that. Like, he was stupidly funny, and I don't know why I laughed at it. So, yeah. The game ends. It all went well. Not really went well. That's an overstatement. It didn't really go well because of my playthrough. All of the Wendigos are dead, presumably. And how all the characters died for me was Chris got his head torn off by a Wendigo. So did Ashley. Mike died in an explosion. Oh my god, I suck at this game, don't I? Josh got his head crushed by a Wendigo. Good for me. Jess got her jaw ripped off by a Wendigo. So I did fantastic. I'm going to play this game again soon. And I bet this game, in a span of 2 days with my friend Sophia, that's how good it was. It was really good. And for my final score for this game, I give it a 9.3 out of 10. I'm that Stone Kid, and goodbye. Huh!